Hello everyone, and welcome to the KJG Helping You Build a Better Business webinar series. We're looking at a number of corporate finance topics, and today we shall be having a look at a typical disposal process. The first thing to say is there is no such thing. There is no typical, but the following diagram does give a very good indication of the areas that you should be aware of if you're considering disposal of your business, and some of the areas where we can actually make a difference in your ability to complete a successful exit of the business. I'll just move, if I can, my head out of the way. There we are. So 5 major areas. There is a bonus point if you spot the typo in the diagram. There's no prize for bonus point, but there is a bonus point. The 5 areas are plan, package, market, select, complete. Easy. This overall process typically historically was said to maybe take 3 months or so as an overall very broad average. Realistically these days, it is probably more like 6 months to achieve the completion of this process. The planning part of the process is what you would expect, which is considering how sellable your business is, and we have another webinar on that topic. Assessing the value of your business. Now here, we have to remember there is a massive difference between the realistic valuation of your business and what you would like to achieve. The two are different, normally different. The good news is that for some people, they have a view of what they need to achieve in selling their business, the price they need to achieve, based on what they think they need in order to live the lifestyle they would like to for the rest of their lives. And actually, in a surprising number of occasions, that number is not as high as you would expect it to be. And we work with a number of wealth managers and IFAs, financial planners, to assess what that would be in case it's if it is of relevance in your consideration in this planning stage. But the valuation of a business, again, you can have, as regards the valuation, you can have advisors tell you what they think the value of your business will be all day long. And some are less scrupulous on this than others, and will, putting it bluntly, promise the earth as regards what can be achieved, knowing it won't, or it's very, very unlikely to be achieved. And but they know once in the process, there's a chance that you will just be tied into it emotionally, and they'll be able to move you back to a more reasonable expectation. So be wary of some of the stories you may hear as regards valuation of your business. The key is working with an advisor who will attempt to achieve the highest price and best deal for you, and planning is a key part of that. The other 2 areas in the planning stage are agreeing who might be a potential purchaser for the business, and in this respect, of course, you will know your sector. You will know your business's sector much better than any advisor, and therefore the key requirement here is to work together with your advisor to agree potential purchasers who should be approached, which I'll come back onto in a moment. Tax planning is the final area. Make sure all your tax ducks are in a row before getting into the process, to ensure that available tax reliefs and benefits are achieved. For example, entrepreneurs relief under capital gains tax rules. Second broad area then is the packaging of the business, and here we need to look at 4 broad areas again. PR, by this in particular we mean considering whether your business actually could do with raising its profile in its industry and in the business sector generally, business world, I'm sorry, generally, by perhaps being put forward for various awards and taking part in various discussions that are published in the media, and sometimes improving the PR of your business, the profile effectively of your business through successful PR can be very useful. Legal cleanse is always worth considering. Everyone always thinks that the legal documentation they need in their business is all entirely up to date and in place, and of course it normally isn't entirely, so it's worth considering what needs to be put in place to facilitate a smoother process. Agreeing the buyer list that we touched on earlier, finalising that, and normally putting that into categories of A, B and C to be approached in that order, and then putting together an information memorandum or an information pack on your business ready for the discussion with potential purchasers, which takes us on to the marketing of the business. Typically there will be a blind profile or teaser prepared, which is a 1-page, very high level document giving a broad indication of who your business is, what you do, and what the headline financials are, the sector you're in, etc. And the balance there is between maintaining confidentiality as regards who you actually are on the one hand, but on the other hand, actually providing enough information for potential purchasers to be interested when they see it. We would agree a timetable with you for the process, which I touched on earlier, for all of the various stages of the process from this initial marketing onwards. NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, or confidentiality agreements, as they're sometimes known, need to be prepared for each potential purchaser who expresses interest, so that they are receiving the information pack or memorandum under that confidentiality agreement, accepting that despite the legal agreement of a non-disclosure agreement or confidentiality agreement, they're never entirely foolproof, because we're dealing with people, and sometimes people don't behave as they should. But the legal documentation under the NDA needs to be in place to provide whatever protection can be achieved. Then there is a contact programme, which we agree with you. Now, in this area, historically, obviously, we have sent teaser or blind profile documents to the agreed parties in the post, and or we have emailed them and tried to elicit a positive response of potential interest. One area worth talking about now, of course, is social media, and then as a contact medium, and in particular LinkedIn. We have made great use of approaching key senior people in potential purchaser organisations to ask the question if they may be interested in an acquisition of a business like yours. And that is sometimes a more direct way of getting to them, with less chance of a gatekeeper stopping the information getting to them. Telephone, of course, is has always been and still is another method of communication. That contact programme, whatever we agree with you, will hopefully then lead to expressions of interest, signing of NDAs, and the release of the information pack. On the back of that information pack, we will set a time scale to receive indicative offers for the business based on the information in the pack, subject to much further due diligence, but just based on what they've been provided, the potential purchaser has been provided with at that stage. What are they thinking is deliverable from their point of view? We hopefully then are in a position to shortlist some potential buyers who seem particularly interested and are talking about a deal which the buyer, the buyer, are interested, potentially interested in. And then we would move to the fourth stage of selection. Just one final thing on the marketing area. One of the things that we can do, of course, is change the method of marketing and actually approach potential purchasers of a business, not on the basis that you are looking to sell your business on a no-names basis, admittedly, but actually on the basis that we have undertaken research and we, K. Johnson G, have come to the view that they, the potential purchaser, could be interested in you as a target. And that is presented as a situation where we are not signed up to sell your business, but actually we are using ourselves as a way of diffusing that contact and trying to make sure that you as a potential seller are as much on the front foot in the beginnings of discussions as you can be. So that approach can sometimes be useful and appropriate. The selection stage, we have 4 areas again. We would typically provide presentations with you to the potential purchasers, taking them through the business and putting flesh on the bones of the information pack. Sometimes a data room, not a data room, would be a point, if you spotted that mistake earlier. A data room would be set up, providing further information, more detailed information, which can obviously be provided these days very easily online. And that is all those presentations and the provision of further information in a data room is done in order to get to a point where the potential purchasers firm up on their indicative offers, or preferably improve them, and we reach agreement with you on who the preferred bidder, potential purchaser, is. We then agree heads of terms or heads of agreement with the potential purchaser and get that document signed. At that stage, one party is in the box seat to buy the business. They have a period of exclusivity then, typically around 3 months, to complete the deal. The completion of the deal is the final and fifth stage, and this involves due diligence and the legal documentation to execute the deal. Due diligence covers legal due diligence, which relates back to the legal cleansing and the packaging stage earlier, providing all the legal documentation that shows that you have the necessary employee, customer and supplier contracts in place, for example. Financial due diligence, where they will interrogate the financials of the business to ensure that the figures that we've provided are robust. And thirdly, but not least of all, commercial due diligence, looking at the reasonableness of what we have said with you is achievable for your business in the future, and what they believe the case to be. So those are, there's sometimes also a fourth area, due diligence area, for example, and others, but a fourth of environmental due diligence, which sometimes more likely applies in a manufacturing situation where they are a buyer needs to ensure that the regulations in that area have been complied with. The legal documentation, sadly, is a mountain of paperwork. It never seems to reduce in size, only increase over the years. But the legal documentation needs to be as it should be to protect you as a seller, to minimise the chances of some comeback on the part of a potential purchaser after the deal is done. That's a quick run through the 5 major areas in a typical disposal process. As I said at the beginning, no such thing as typical, and this is never a process that we follow in a rote fashion. It is an indication of what might happen and how it might be done, but hopefully gives you a flavour of what is possible. So thank you very much for watching and listening. Hope you've enjoyed the webinar, and please take care.